We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we begin, I was notified by our office staff that the Sheriff's Office has asked that we pull item the B1, the Sheriff's contract, unless they indicate otherwise. Is that correct?
I'm sorry?
That is correct, that you're asking that item to be pulled for today, or?
No.
Okay. All right, then I misunderstood. I apologize.
B1 for today, no.
All right. Okay.
Well, if you want to pull it, you can pull it. It's
We will then, we'll start then with our first item.
First-
Good
morning.
Apologize. I forgot one thing. No, in a rush. Good morning. It is May the 3rd, 2018, Commission meeting. My name is Kevin Cook. I serve as the chair. Joining me is Commissioner Bob Archer, jovial as usual, and Commissioner Shelley Bueller. Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, if we could start with our first item.
First item is item 3, consent agenda.
We have 6 items on the consent agenda. Are there any questions or comments?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item 4, new business, A, County Clerk number 1, consider all voucher payments.
We have vouchers totaling $399,891.21. Those of that amount, $87,160 is for the Sallyport door for the detention facility. Or actually, that is, let me see here. I know that amount is correct. I'm going to go on to the next thing. The $51,101.26 is for Constellation Energy. That is detention facility. Equipment fund was the first one, I'm sorry. Third is the $45,673.99, and that's for pooled cash. That is unemployment tax for first quarter. Of note, also in building maintenance is the amounts to paint the Oakland pool, and some other work at North. So that amounted to $39,357.98. So are there any questions?
I have none.
If not, I'll move approval.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Bueller for approval, second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item B, Sheriff's Office number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C-143-2018 with CBS Manhattan LLC for renewal of annual maintenance of door access control, CCTV, and intrusion alarms at the LEC Sheriff's Office.
Good morning, Commissioners. Captain Hoover with the Sheriff's Office. The confusion is we wanted to pull from Monday's Commission agenda.
Okay. All right.
This is the CBS contract, which does our access control and CCTV contract for the courthouse, the law enforcement center, and a couple other buildings with the Sheriff's Office. It's a continuation of the service agreement we've had with CBS for multiple years. No raise in cost. So I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone may have regarding this matter.
At the courthouse, if we want to look at some additional cameras or some additional function, is that going to limit us from any of that actions or abilities to look at changing up some of what the things we do at the courthouse?
We have had conversations, the sheriff, Ms. Greiner, Mr. Kroll, and several other people have sat down, and we can separate out this contract to do some different things at any time. The current service agreement expires today, I believe. That's one of the reasons we wanted to get this done as a continuation. CBS has been a great company to work with, and we are willing to do multiple different things. We've actually had conversations with them. I believe Mr. Nichols has even had conversations about the possibility of splitting the courthouse away from this contract, and the sheriff is 100% okay with that, if that's what the commission chooses to do. This contract would not preclude that. We have some upgrades that we could do at the sheriff's office, and a couple of our other facilities to make sure this money still gets utilized. If the commission would choose to do something different with the courthouse than what the sheriff's office is currently doing, by all means, the sheriff is open to that idea.
I know that there is a security council that meets, and they make some recommendations as to the courthouse security, and I just want to make sure that our options are open if the security council wants to explore that as to what options we may have. Commissioner Bueller, you serve on that.
I agree. I think there needs to be probably a little bit more discussion about this, but what do we do? I mean, since it does expire, as far as for
the sheriff's office has always been very attentive to the council. If they have ideas or thoughts and changes they want to make, I run it through the sheriff, and we determine what's the best use of the monies that we have available through this service agreement. If there is an idea to make some overwhelming large changes, there's going to have to be funding come from some other source. Whether if the commission chooses to do something different with the courthouse and the way the CCTV and the access control is done other than what we're doing now. A lot of this maintenance agreement is for warranty repairs, small upgrades, adding doors, adding some cameras. But if there's going to be a large-scale change, that's something that this agreement wouldn't be designed for anyway. So I don't think I've ever had any trouble. If somebody wants to do an upgrade, as long as they're small upgrades, if you want to do a complete upgrade to the entire system, this user's agreement wouldn't be for that purpose anyway.
I probably wasn't clear, but this is for maintenance. So, yes, the contract does expire here in a few days, or tomorrow, correct? Tomorrow?
Yes.
So, have you had conversation with CBS if we don't approve this today and it allows us more time to have conversation at the Security Council level? What's the consequences of that? I mean, we just don't have a contract, and what are we not receiving as a result of that for a short period of time?
I haven't had that conversation because I didn't consider that an option, to be bluntly honest.
Okay.
I'm sure I can have that conversation with CBS. I will just leave it at that because I know that the sheriff wants to sign this contract, and that is his intention at this point.
Commissioner Bueller, if I might ask the counselor to weigh in on this.
I agree.
Good morning, Jim Krause, Shawnee County Councilor.
Jim, with this being a contract with the sheriff's able to enter into contracts, and it does talk about the courthouse, but it's a maintenance contract. If we want to do some major changes, would it prohibit the commission from being able to look at those options?
This contract wouldn't. This is a maintenance contract for the existing system. Any changes to the existing system would be outside the scope of this contract.
Okay. And so the Security Council could explore that if they want to pursue that as an additional option?
Yes.
It wouldn't be in conflict with this agreement?
No.
Does that help?
It might not be in conflict, I guess.
Well, it depends
not knowing
on
what
type of changes we
Right.
want to do.
right.
Okay. Commissioner Archer, do you have questions? Or?
Yeah, I don't think Commissioner Bueller is satisfied that we move forward at this time with this.
Not knowing what the possibilities are, I think that's safe. Yeah, and it's with a maintenance agreement. We're not impacting any safety right now. But I guess the sheriff is able to enter into that contract if he so desires.
Yes, the sheriff has already signed this contract. This is brought to you to see if you want to sign off on it, too. I don't know that it's absolutely necessary for the commission to sign off on it for it to continue in force.
I think that really the recommendation is, I know the Security Council has been looking at
We have.
and the security for the courthouse and what changes and recommendations there may be for the courthouse. And again, that would not impact the law enforcement center, of which the bulk of this contract addresses is the law enforcement center and not the courthouse. But
It covers both.
It does cover both.
your pleasure, Commissioner Bueller.
I hate to put you on the spot, but can we defer this for a week in order to give enough time?
I don't feel that I have the authority
I know, that's
from the
what I-
sheriff
that's what I'm
to
thinking,
defer
too.
that. And the law enforcement memorial is going on currently at the LEC.
Oh, okay.
I will, if I may, we have had a very open dialogue with multiple people in the county, and everybody was made aware that this agreement was going to be due in May. And this was pulled from Mondays, and no one called the sheriff's office, the sheriff, or myself in regards to this and in regards to these concerns. And I know there are individuals that have some concerns with this, but they didn't have a conversation with me, or I would have been a lot more open today. I believe I know the sheriff's pleasure, and that would be to not defer it. But at the same sense, I cannot speak for him as to that. So I will stand mute on it.
I do not.
Jim, at this time, would we be able just to take no action on the item? There would be not a motion to approve, there would not be a motion to defer, but there would be,
You can acknowledge receipt that the sheriff has entered into this contract like we do with
but then we're not a
many.
party to the
No,
contract.
and not execute it.
Okay. So, Commissioner
That
Bueller,
would
would
be
there
the
be
motion,
a motion
yes.
to acknowledge receipt of the contract signed by the sheriff? Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
And Commissioner Bueller, is that your motion?
Yes.
All right. Motion made by Commissioner Bueller to acknowledge receipt of the contract signed by the sheriff, second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0.
Thank you, Commissioners, and I really do look forward to any more communication in regards to any of these issues.
I think definitely follow up with Security Council and discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item C, corrections. Number 1, consider approval of request for out-of-state travel for 2 corrections specialists to attend the National Law Enforcement Training Center's 37th Annual Reasonable Use of Force Training Seminar in Kansas City, Missouri, at a total cost of $950 each, with funding from the training budget.
Good morning, Commissioners. Eve Kendall, Department of Corrections. I stand before you with this request for training to recertify our current instructors. They need to be recertified every 3 years. This is 3 years. So it's in Kansas City. The main reason why it's in front of you is because of the cost. We do have the forms filled out, the training cost for acknowledgement that the instructors will be here for so long due to the training. We're here to ask for your approval, and I'll stand for any questions you might have.
Any questions for
I have none.
Move to approve the request.
Second?
motion to approve by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Bueller? All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item D, Court Administration. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C-144-2018 with Eagle Technologies for annual maintenance of backup software with funding in an amount of $6,257.87 from the 2018 budget.
Good morning, Charles Hyde of its District Court. This is our annual maintenance contract for all of our equipment. We've brought this before you for several years in a row, so this is just a renewal of the existing contract that we have. This is coming from our 2018 budget, and funds have been appropriated.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item.
Item E, Community Corrections. Number 1, consider approval of request to move funding from the Kansas Children's Service League contractual personnel allocation to the Boys and Girls Club of Topeka Comprehensive Youth Development Program Fund in an amount of $15,000.
Good morning, Commissioners. Rebecca Cartmill with Community Corrections. This is kind of self-explanatory, but Kansas Children's Service League did not fill a personnel position. They had an extra $15,000, and the Juvenile Corrections Advisory Board voted to give that amount to the Boys and Girls Club of Topeka for their programming, and mainly because they do so much for our offenders as well as the general public. And Kansas Department of Corrections has already approved this.
And so it has gone through the Juvenile Corrections Advisory Board as well as the state of Kansas for
Yes.
approval. Any questions?
I'll move approval.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Bueller.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next item.
Item F, Information Technology. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of Contract C-145-2018, renewal of Contract C-130-2017 with Software House International for PRTG network monitoring software at a cost of $599 annually with funding from the 2018 Information Technology budget.
Good morning, Commissioners. Pat O'Blaine with the Information Technology Department. This is a renewal for a piece of software that we use to monitor a variety of devices throughout our network. Provides us with a heads up on what's gone wrong and where loads are occurring in the network, and it allows us to respond to those all appropriately. PRTG stands for Passler Router Traffic Grapher, just in case you need the full. I have to look that up every year myself. I can never remember. But anyway, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Any questions regarding the PRTG?
Yeah, thank you. I have none. Move approval.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Bueller.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item F2, consider authorization and execution of Contract C-146-2018, renewal of Contract C-131-2017 with MVP Systems Software, Inc. for annual maintenance of JAMS Small Business Edition job scheduling software with funding of $3,500 from the Information Technology 2018 budget.
Commissioners, this item is another renewal. This is for a piece of software that we use to schedule jobs that have to be run on a regular basis. Excuse me. It takes care of a lot of things that normally somebody would have to go kick off and start, like the backup of a SQL server or a report generation or something along those lines. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of these jobs that have to be taken care of, and this software automates that process and saves a lot of staff time. Also allows tracking of did these jobs run, and if they did not, a report gets generated so somebody that knows to go do something about it. So introduces a lot of automation that increases efficiency and helps us respond to things appropriately. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. Oh, and JAMS stands for Job Automation Scheduler.
Okay.
I have to start putting a legend on each one of these that covers all the acronyms.
Any questions regarding this item?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Thank you very much, Pat.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Our next item.
Item G, Public Works Solid Waste. Number 1, consider approval of request to reject bids, accept negotiated amount with low bidder for a culvert replacement project on Northwest Button Road over an unnamed tributary of Half-Day Creek, and authorization and execution of contract C-147-2018 with Claver Construction, Inc. for their revised amount of $229,027.06 with funding from the Special Bridge Fund.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Black with Public Works and Solid Waste. This is the Public Works item, and we are embarking upon a culvert replacement project on Button Road, about a quarter mile north of Northwest 46th Street. We took bids, and all the bids we received came in over the estimate. The low bid was about $16,000 above the estimate. So we went back and looked at the bid prices that the contractor submitted and looked at items that we possibly could negotiate out of the contract that we could sell and perform. And we were able to find a couple of those that we can do with our own forces. One of them, we're going to remove a large tree at the beginning of the project. And at the end of the project, we will actually place the asphalt on the roadway. By doing so, that would reduce their contract amount such that it fits within the estimate and fits within our budget. So that is what we are requesting, is that we formally have to reject all the bids, and then we're asking for your approval to accept the negotiated contract with the low bidder, who is Claver Construction, who is an excellent contractor at this type of work. So that is our request and is our recommendation, that we reject the bids and accept the negotiated contract price. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Questions? Commissioner Archer.
Yeah, I would refer to the county councilor to make sure the process and the procedure was accurate.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jim Kraus, Shawnee County Councilor. Yes, we did review this, and we are negotiating and entering into a contract with the low bidder on the project. We were able to adjust some of the requirements and get that down within our project budget. So I do not see any legal issues with this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I don't have any questions, thank you.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion made for approval by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item.
Item H, Parks and Recreation. Number 1, request for approval for the following project budgets. A, Hillcrest Playground pour-in-place surfacing and concrete walk path to the new playground at an estimated project cost of $29,904.50 with funding from the capital maintenance 3R. Listen,
I don't mean to interrupt you.
I'm talking. You're disturbing this. Fund. B, Ruger Softball Complex, field renovation at an estimated project cost of $88,734.50 with funding from the capital maintenance 3R fund. C, Bladesdale Family Aquatic Center, restroom renovations, security pole light conversion to LED, painting of slide towers, and upgrade of spray pad at an estimated cost of $67,362.39 with funding from the capital maintenance 3R fund. D, Dornwood Park, replacement and repair of lights on ball fields at an estimated cost of $31,749.75 with funding from the 2015 COP funds. E, Shungad Glen Park and Trail, repair of concrete trail and sidewalk at an estimated cost of $41,350 with funding from the capital maintenance 3R fund.
Commissioners, John Knight, Parks and Recreation. Before we launch into any kind of details on item 1 there, I put together a little presentation I'd like to quickly go through here. In addition to these projects, there's 2 more that's going to follow here where we're signing contracts for projects going on in Parks and Recreation. A week or so ago, the County Commission entertained the idea of $3 million of excess reserve funds going to Parks and Recreation, going to deferred maintenance. What ends up happening when we do this process is there are some in our community who cherry pick a project or two, find out where it is, and then start saying things that Shawnee County Parks and Rec is not investing on the east side. I don't think that's fair to this commission, and because you guys have worked really hard to do that. So prior to us coming down and doing these project budgets, I'm going to give you guys a running total of where this money's being spent, and I also want to back up to kind of include the master plan, because this has actually been going on since 2014. So real quick here, I'll go through a couple of these. You can see here, here's a map, not a map of the entire Shawnee County, so if your house is outside of what I squeezed onto this map, I apologize. Mine is just outside of that map, but it does include all of the facilities that we have, that we manage in Shawnee County Parks and Rec after we've merged with the Parks and Rec at Topeka. We started a master plan. We split the county into 4 as equal quadrants as we could find on population. Basically, that runs from a line down 21st Street and a line down McVicker. That gives us 4 quadrants that are relatively equally populated. And then then I wasn't involved in this. This is probably Sean Osborne's creativity here. He named these quadrants 1, 2, 3, and 4. I would have been a lot more creative. And there's we based that on the 2014 estimates. Of course, those numbers change regularly as we go. There are a few more in quadrant 2, but also 1 and 3 continue to grow, so we tried to factor that in when we developed the quadrants. What does that do for the amount of facilities and the services we're providing at Shawnee County Parks and Rec? The number of parks in quadrant 1, which is north and west, has 25 parks in it. And I should clarify, that's not necessarily parks, but that's parks plus other parcels that really are not parks that we inherited through the merger that we maintain. Those are parcels. There's 25 parcels in Quadrant 1, 47 in Quadrant 2, 21 in Quadrant 3, which is south and west, and 47 in Quadrant number 4, which is south and east. Right there, I will say that when I go out and I speak with neighborhood groups, I don't hear this, that Shawnee County Parks and Rec is only invested on the west side. They don't invest any money on the east side, but I do hear that rumor, but it's not from the neighborhoods. You can see on here that this is clearly shows that the number of parks is imbalanced east and west. It's a little bit more balanced north and south. Project funding since 2017. Why did I pick 2017? That was in the fall of 2016. The advisory board came before you with a plan on the 3R deferred maintenance and ways to address that. You guys implemented that in January of 2017, so we've been keeping track of where those expenditures have been going since that time. As you can see, I broke those down by quadrants, and there is quite a discrepancy. The east side is getting a lot of investment. Now, that may make some of the people on the east side happy, but I'm sure that at that same time, some of the people on the west side are going, I pay taxes too, where's my investment too? So, but as you know, being a department head, we are always, quite frequently in a no-win situation. Attendance at our parks. Now, we do a good job of attracting our attendance for events, programs, facilities. What we don't do a good job of is just the casual person who comes in and sits down with their bucket of KFC and has a family picnic. We need to find a better way to track those. But this is what we found here by the attendance at our quadrants. One other thing here that we need to do a better job of is in Quadrant 1, Gage Park. That doesn't include the zoo and the Children's Discovery Center, and in future reports to you, it will. Again, I broke the attendance down on these. You might have seen a similar slide before on one of my presentations. At Parks and Rec sites, we have over 2 million visitors to our sites over the course of a year. In golf and sports, that's almost 3 million. This chart was one I put together to present to you when you were discussing excess reserve funds. The County Commission voted to provide Parks and Recreation $3 million. As you can see, I just wanted to let you know none of those items are on here today. These would have all been started before I came to the commission, but you'll soon see these within the next few weeks here of the project budgets coming before you on those. But it shows you the advisory board requested us to do the health and safety items first. That's what you see up there. So we get not quite to cover all of the rec center costs that we'd anticipated. But that could change quite a bit as we actually get actual project bids in. What I didn't share with you guys before is where some of those excess funding would go according to that prioritization. Again, as you can see there, that is pretty well distributed across the entire county. With that being said, I'd be happy to answer any questions about this presentation, how we are identifying where we are spending our money, and also if you have any specific questions about the items that Cindy Beck just read off on the 5 project budgets, I have staff here that can answer the specific questions.
John, let's kind of go through some of the slides you had presented first. The 5 million people you're talking about are those, we're not talking about 5 million unique people, we're talking about number of times that people would go to the parks. So if Commissioner Archer's on a pickleball team and he goes to the park 10 times, that would be 10 times out of that 5 million.
Yes, yes. There are not that many different people. That's how many visitations that we have. And I will say that that just makes the stay longer for who is ever playing him in pickleball, because then they'll have a big party because it's an easy victory.
I heard he's pretty competitive.
Oh, I just beat you to it this morning. I'm sorry.
And then, as to the attendance we're looking at, I'm assuming that a majority of the attendance is, if you go back just to one more slide, is For example, Quadrant 4 is going to be associated with Lake Shawnee, Quadrant 2 with the North Aquatic Facility, Quadrant 1 with Gage Park, Quadrant 4 with either the...
Yes, our larger regional destination facilities tend to attract a lot more of the attendance. Even the community parks are also big attractions of those. The numbers that are less large and less clustered would be your neighborhood parks, and that's where quadrants 2 and 4 have a lot of neighborhood parks in them as well, too.
And then as far as the money, the one slide back, that's not going to count the money from the Midwest Health Aquatic Facility, since that's not, that would be in Quadrant 3.
It would be in Quadrant 3, and that does not include that because we did that before we started the 3R funding, correct?
Okay.
I certainly, if you guys have better ways you'd like me to put these numbers together, I sure would be happy to.
I just wanted to...
It also doesn't include in Quadrant 1 a couple of the grants in which we got federal funding, like Trails for the Gage Park Trail is not in Quadrant 1 either.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we have that discussion out there so that we're not misleading the public as to the investments that we're making.
It is very, a little frustrating to me, though, when I do hear people say that you guys are not investing in East Topeka, because that is not true. Commissioner Cook, you've worked very hard to make sure that the facilities over on the east side are appropriately funded and are appropriately improved. I don't think that's fair to you and the rest of the commission.
Well, I mean, I think that it's all of us that we're making sure that we have an investment, not just one commissioner.
That's true.
Commissioner Bueller?
Project funding, though, can you explain exactly what that
That's
means
the
for all of
3R
us?
project funding, deferred maintenance, going in and fixing up community centers, doing new painting, new flooring, new walls, going into the parks, putting the rubberized surfaces underneath playgrounds, taking those playgrounds, cleaning those playgrounds, putting new siding onto shelter houses, new asphalt on parking lots, taking out the gigantic blocks that we used for traffic control to keep people out of there, and actually putting in a traffic control device like a parking block, more lighting in our parks so people feel safer when they come to those, aquatic center improvements. Dave is here today, has done a tremendous amount. He's not ready to show you all he's done yet at the Hillcrest Pool, but almost a complete makeover of the Hillcrest Pool will be unveiled here in the next few months, and that is the type of projects. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did, but I agree with Commissioner Cook. Somebody looking at that may question the amount of investment.
Okay.
New and existing facilities, so.
Okay.
And I would try very hard, John. We represent the entire county.
Yes, I apologize for
We
insinuating
represent
that
the
you
entire
didn't.
county, and we are elected by those districts, but there's a whole panhandle of Shawnee County up there that's not represented, and I represent that area.
Yep.
So let's try really hard to talk about the entire community. We represent those people within the city of Topeka, those in the unincorporated areas, and I think we really need to strive what's best for the whole of Shawnee County and not get caught up in north, south, east, and west.
And I think that's, Commissioner,
I
that's
really
a good
do.
point. Parochial politics has no place at
It
the
doesn't.
county level.
It doesn't.
And we didn't see that in the Willard Bridge discussion. We didn't see that when we were talking about Midwest Health. That just really does not have a place in our commission. It's the county as a whole, not the county as a commission, so, district.
They're the ones who represent, or vote us in, yeah.
Commissioner Archer, any questions so far on the presentation?
I don't think so. I think it's interesting information to see where our money goes and where additional funding may go. I think it's always helpful to see where it goes. No, nothing else.
If you guys have some suggestions to this, I can gladly, what I'm hearing is you'd like me to add some of the new construction that we've put on there as well, too. We track it by quadrant just because an emphasis of the master plan that we did in 2014 was to begin to bring balance across the system. So that's the way we track it. If you don't want me to report it that way, you just want one big number, I could do that as well, too.
I think the quadrants are fine when we talk about making sure there's balance of parks, making sure there's equity in how we have the assets distributed. But again, it's not just, we shouldn't be pitting one district against, or one quadrant against another quadrant. But we do need to look and make sure there's equity in how we allocate the resources.
And I apologize if I've jumped the gun here. I know there's a fine line between giving rumors legs, but I also don't like the statements going unchallenged when they're not true. So there was a fine line that I'm trying to balance in there, so. Do you have any questions about the specific projects?
So let's walk through our projects that we have.
Okay.
Why don't you start us off with Hillcrest and talk to us about what we're doing at Hillcrest?
John, would you like to come up and talk about your pour-in-place project?
Okay. Good morning, Commissioners. John Boyd, Shawnee County Parks. If you remember, last December, I believe it was, you approved to install a new playground facility at Hillcrest Community Center. At that point in time, with it coming in, it was a hurry up to the end of the year. And so we was able to purchase that equipment, get it installed by the end of the year. Excuse me. With the weather, we were not able to do anything with the surfacing. It has to have above 50 degrees to install the surfacing. So what we did at that point in time was temporarily put in mulch so that it could be used, because they were going to use it one way or the other, and we didn't want anybody to get hurt. At this point, we want to come back, remove the mulch, and finish it properly. And that's kind of what we're shooting for.
So we're not undoing and redoing, it's just finishing up.
Well, we have to pull the mulch out to
Right.
put it in, but no, this would be to complete the project.
Questions?
My guess is you're going to use that mulch somewhere else.
Oh,
right?
absolutely,
Sure,
yeah.
right.
Yes.
I don't have any questions.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Mhm.
The next project is the Ruger Softball Complex.
Morning, Commissioners. Darren Tolan, Shawnee County Parks and Rec. The project for Rieger Park, I'm not sure if you're aware, but we were awarded the 2019 Class E World Series. Part of that is we have to have championship play standards, which requires that we move infields back. We need to do some more slope. These fields were built by the city in 1999. They were originally silt, and they were added to red shell in 2004. And they have not had major renovations since. So this would be to upgrade them to championship play.
So that was my inclination, is that we have not had any work on the Rieger softball complex since the major renovations.
Correct.
Since the consolidation.
Correct. We've done routine maintenance, add some stuff, to batter's boxes, pitcher's mound, stuff like that. But this would be the major renovation for 18 years.
And we're changing the field renovations to bring it up to the standard that's needed.
Correct.
Commissioner Archer, any questions?
No.
All
No
right.
questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then on the Blaisdell Family Aquatic Center.
Good morning, Commissioners. David Alker, Shawnee County Parks and Rec. This is part of the process of, we increased fee prices last year. $1 of that goes to the maintenance fund. This helps me to be proactive in terms of maintenance. A lot of this stuff hasn't been touched since 2000 when it was redone. So a lot of the valves, a lot of the paint, a lot of the things that need to be done is starting to be upgraded, and that's the way with the bathrooms as well. And LEDs will cut our costs for the lighting on it.
Okay. So this is a cost savings to we'll see potentially with our lighting bills?
Yes. We have roughly 40 lights there now. We're cutting it down to 26.
While I have you here, David, we're
Sure.
still looking for lifeguards?
Yes.
All right. So, again, if you know any kids that are looking for a summer job, please apply.
We're getting close. We're
And
getting
opening
close.
day is?
26th. I'm counting down.
Okay.
So.
All right. And then I think we're back to Dornwood Park.
Morning again, Commissioners. Darren Tolan, Sports Supervisor. Yes, this is a project over there. We had some copper theft at Dornwood. This is going back in with our contractor and upgrading the lighting. We will not be putting copper back in. We'll be putting aluminum back in to deter theft, and also raising the boxes and making it a little bit less opportunity to the thieves. Also, we are looking at down the future some type of monitoring system to make sure that this doesn't happen.
And as far as the monitoring system, I understand that it would send an alert if there's a break in the wires or something so that the park police would know about it.
Correct. We are currently working with a company, or I'm sorry, researching with a company out of Latha, which is this kind of new technology for ball diamonds. They use it on streetlights in cities and such. What it does is it will put a sensor on the ball lights and then a sensor on the switch, send a pulse. If that pulse is disrupted, it sends an alert. So even at 2 o'clock in the morning, it would send an alert.
I think that would be a good thing for us to look at.
Yes.
Theft is always an issue that we have with all of our ball diamonds.
Correct.
I might note that the funding source is actually coming from the COP funds and not from the Parks and Rec 3R fund.
Correct.
And those are monies that were left over from the certificates of participation that we did when we did the renovations for Dornwood.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions? All right.
Thank you.
And then finally, the Shunga Glen Park and Trail.
John Boyd, Parks and Rec again. This is Phase 1 of trail enhancements. We are doing repairs. We're starting at Shunga Glen. We actually do have some repairs ongoing close to McDonald Field right now that were a rush job. But this project, we're going to start there and just work our way through the trail over the period of the summer.
Are we addressing
Cracks, heaves, yeah, just calved off parts, just, yeah.
I mean, I know that we've heard individuals come to address the commission and talk about problems with cracks in the Shunga trails. How bad do we have widespread, or is it in sporadic issues?
I wouldn't call it widespread. We have certain areas when you have heavy trucks that have to come across the trail can tend to break in places. And it's just over a period of years, we've had certain areas that either crack or on the sides break off the corners. They're not huge safety issues, but they are turning into issues, so.
And I would assume that it's going to be like anybody's home maintenance, that you have sidewalks that settle or crack, and Public Works is Tom Block sitting on the front row, that we're always deferred maintenance and going in and doing repairs for our roadways, and these are roadways.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Question, John, is
Sure.
it a certain section of the trail then, or it's not the entire trail that
No,
we're doing that?
at
it's
this
just a certain
point, we are
section?
identifying the broken panels
Okay.
and taking out the panels.
Okay.
Yeah, there'd probably be several numbers on the front of that if we was doing the
Exactly.
whole sections.
Yeah.
So at this point, anything that's broke, we're taking out,
Okay.
but not just a complete section.
Okay, all right.
All right. Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions regarding these projects? Commissioner Archer?
Well, I will say, Mr. Chair, that I had asked Mr. Knight specifically to give us a breakdown by quadrants. I didn't realize it would be so controversial, to be honest with you. I thought it was, hey, the more information you have, the better decisions you can make. And it's thoroughly in keeping with the master plan and the thought that we need to balance our Parks and Rec investments across the county. So I apologize if anyone was offended, but I think it's important because the more information we have, the better decisions we make going forward.
Well, I think that it does provide good information. There are always going to be naysayers in the community
Right.
that want to just make negative comments for the sake of making negative comments. One of those negative comments is that the west side gets everything, but at the same time, people on the west side, people say more people in the north get everything. People in the north say people in the east get everything. And we're constant, maybe that's part of human nature,
I think it is.
is just constantly being jealous of what somebody else has. And the entire park system is a jewel. And I know, John, you and your staff work really hard to make sure that we do have it balanced out and that we improve all of our park assets. And so it's good to see that we do have investments that are being made across the community and not just in one area. So,
Well said.
any other questions?
I'll move to approve the project budgets.
Motion
Second.
to approve by Commissioner Bueller, second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item H2, consider authorization and execution of contract C-148-2018 with Kansas Fencing, Inc. for the removal and installation of new fencing at Hillcrest Park at a cost of $30,000 with funding from the Capital Maintenance Fund.
Again, morning, Commissioners, there in Shawnee County Parks and Rec. This project, or this contract you have before you, was part of the Hillcrest project set forth, I believe, in late 17. We went out for RFP for the replacing of the fencing around the tennis courts at Hillcrest Park. It was over 20 years old. It is tied into the futsal court as well. They will replace it by putting in a 12-foot vinyl fence, which matches our specs, maintenance specs. They will also be adding a 4-foot fence between the basketball court and the parking lot to deter vehicles from coming on the basketball court. They did go out for bid. Kansas Fence was the lowest, and they will work with our other contractors.
Okay. Any questions regarding this?
Move approval.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Bueller.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item H3, consider authorization and execution of contract C-149-2018 with Sport Court Kansas City, Inc. for the repair of surfacing and installation of a new sport court for the game of futsal, whatever, at Hillcrest Park. I don't know what.
Futsal.
There you go, futsal. I didn't know what that was. At a cost of $58,200 with funding from the Capital Maintenance Fund.
Okay, Darren, you're going to have to sell this one for spec.
Yes.
Again, this was part of the project set forth by the renovation of Hillcrest Park. We had a older tennis court over there. Futsal is just a modified soccer game played on hard surfaces. A lot of soccer teams use it in the off-season or that to keep their skills up, their touches of the ball, stuff like that. They did go out for RFP. 4 vendors came back. Sport Court out of Kansas City was the lowest bid and the most reasonable bid. It's a snap-in system that goes on top of the court. They will do sub-base work prior to that. This surface is repairable, but it also has a 15-year warranty. And this will be the first futsal court in Shawnee County.
Okay. How did we pick Hillcrest as the place to put the futsal court?
We have a lot of interest over there with the community. We've also worked with other organizations to make sure we have a regional park where we offer something different to the community over there as well.
Okay. Any other questions?
I believe there was teams playing soccer on the tennis courts, gave us the first idea.
I'll move to approve the contract.
I'll second, but you had, what was the estimate before? I mean, what was your estimate of the cost of this before we got the bids back? What, do you remember?
Roughly courts, it varies. It just depends on the deterioration of the asphalt, stuff like that, but this was the cheapest way to go back with the over the asphalt. The estimates on asphalt can be literally anywhere from $17,000 just to paint it to up to $60,000, $80,000 to replace asphalt.
But you didn't have an estimate of what this might be projected to
Oh, roughly
cost?
around $50,000.
Around 50, okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
And Darren, would we see some of our tennis courts then going to this? Is that kind of our thought?
Yes, we are looking at all our courts and their use. We have a plan. Hopefully we'll be coming down with some courts to have some renovation as far as the 3 Rs goes. We're moving towards where, like, we had a lot of tennis courts, and then maybe they become pickleball or basketball or something to offer variety to the community as well.
Okay. And I know that sports come and go with interests, and we have a lot of tennis courts that it seems across the city that go unused.
Correct. We do work with the NIAs. Daryl Stewart, which is our community relations specialist, helps me as well as talking with the NIAs and see what they want.
I think it's good for us to, talk with our community and make sure we have interests that are benefiting the community.
Correct.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item I, Administrative Services. Number 1, consider approval of request to solicit bids for document storage and shredding for multiple county departments.
Betty Griner, Director of Administrative Services. I'm asking for permission to go out to, for bid for document storage and shredding. This is an area that in the past, different departments have had their own contracts. I'd like to go out for bid countywide and see if we can get some economies of scale here, or, get a better volume pricing. I did mention in the memo that last year we spent approximately $73,000 on document storage and shredding.
Any questions regarding this item?
I move approval.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Bueller.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Thank you. Our next item.
Item J, Commission Number 1, reflect that Commissioner Archer is appointing Sean Leisinger to the Shawnee County, Topeka Shawnee County Library Board of Trustees effective immediately and expiring April 30th, 2022.
Commissioner Archer.
Yes, Mr. Chair, if I can take a minute. Sean is here today. You'd stand up and wave. Very good. Again, I want to say a few words about Sean and my appreciation for serving on the library board. Sean has got a distinguished background. He is a graduate of Washburn University School of Law. He has a number of honors and achievements. One that I was impressed with was completed Lean Six Sigma Yellow Belt level management training, and being a Baldrige examiner, that means a lot to me. That's very important. Boards and memberships, the list goes on. Topeka Civic Theater, United Way of Greater Topeka, Ward Mead Neighborhood Improvement Association president. Sean currently is with the Washburn University School of Law, and he is the executive director of Centers for Excellence, Externship Program Director, and Continuing Legal Education Programming Director. Wow, what a title. He was with Shawnee County for 10 years, and a lot of times we just pass over these volunteers and appointments to boards, and I wanted to specifically recognize Sean and thank him. I also got a nice email from Gina Millsap, who is in charge of the library, and she said that she wanted to thank me for the appointments that I've made. Sean will be taking Betty Griner's place on the board, and Gina said, Betty Griner has been an invaluable asset with her knowledge of public finance, her commitment to good stewardship of public resources, and her advocacy for the library. She has also served as an effective liaison between Shawnee County and the library, and has been very helpful in facilitating what has become a beneficial and valued partnership. We will greatly miss her expertise, wise counsel, and passion for the library's mission. With the upcoming appointment of Sean Leisinger this week, I'm anticipating we'll have another community leader who brings unique expertise, a commitment to learning and literacy, and an understanding of public sector governance. We are delighted to welcome him to the board. So Betty, thank you for your service, and Sean, thank you for volunteering. Appreciate it. So I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner
I'll
Archer.
second.
Seconded by Commissioner Bueller. And Betty, thank you for having served. And Sean, welcome, and we look forward to continued great leadership.
Definitely.
So, motion made by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item 5, Administrative Communications.
This is an opportunity for any department head or member of the public to address the commission.
Commissioners, Tom Block, Public Works, Solid Waste. This Saturday is the first Saturday of the month, so we will be hosting our Saturday Household Hazardous Waste Collection event at our Household Hazardous Waste facility from 9 to noon. And the facility is located at 131 Northeast 46th Street, again, which is about a quarter mile east of the roundabout at North 46th and Topeka Boulevard. Again, it's free to county residents, the collection of paints and oils, herbicides, pesticides, light bulbs, batteries, things of that nature. So We're hoping it's going to be another beautiful weekend this weekend, so hopefully if people are still cleaning out for the spring, they will bring all their hazardous materials to us. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Tom, nice job on the, our news piece this morning on recycling.
Oh, thank you.
Our next,
Oh, thank you.
thanks.
Oh, plant sale, yay.
Thank you.
Good morning, Ariel Whiteley-Knowles, Shawnee County Research and Extension. I hate to create competition for Saturday, but while you're out getting rid of very important things and responsibly doing so, please stop by the Shawnee County Research and Extension office. Our Shawnee County Extension Master Gardeners will be having their 10th annual plant sale, and that is from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., the exact same time. We should have coordinated this a little bit better. This is one of only 2 fundraisers that our Extension Master Gardeners put on every year, and this money helps go towards youth scholarships, towards educational programs and presentations, and maintaining and creating our 8 demonstration gardens that we have here in Shawnee County, just to name a few of the things that our Extension Master Gardeners do. We will have beautiful annuals, perennials, vegetables, and herbs, all of which are grown by our Extension Master Gardeners, which is something, if I can brag, is unique to Shawnee County. None of the rest of our wonderful Master Gardener chapters across the state have the greenhouse that we have, or necessarily the manpower, one of the biggest Master Gardener groups in the state. So this is something really to be very proud of for Shawnee County residents, not only that we get to have fun and play with plants, but that we're really a great example for the rest of the community. So, on behalf of our Master Gardeners, I have a few plants for you.
Wow.
Oh, yay. Nice. Thank you so much.
Well, see, the chair got the most flowers there. And
There's no statement being made by the flowers. You are welcome to switch them. Thank you so much.
Now, Ariel, is this your first plant sale?
This is my first, and this is actually my 1-year anniversary. I started the Monday after the plant sale last year, which was much appreciated. That would have been a lot to walk in on, but I'm very excited. This is my first plant sale.
Now, Ariel, I'm going to prepare you. They start lining up at 7 or earlier.
That is what I've been told. I've been told to arrive very early to start the coffee.
Right.
So.
We have some very dedicated plant people in Shawnee County, and so they line up at 7 or earlier, and they're ready for that 9 a.m.
Yes, and we actually sold out of quite a few things within the first hour last year. So it's truly wonderful.
Don't delay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Susan Fowler-Hensler, Parks and Rec. As you heard today, there's a lot of things going on over at the Hillcrest Park and Community Center. So I just wanted to say that we are having our 3rd public engagement opportunity on those renovations over there this Saturday, so there is lots to do Saturday. We had our first one at a community event at Hillcrest called Project Forward in March. We just got through interviewing 500 Eisenhower Middle School kids that got to take a survey, and they've been over at the center talking about the survey they took. They're very excited about it, so we're going to get ready to tally those. But this Saturday, Shawnee County Parks and Recreation, in partnership with Dick's Sporting Goods Store, has a Shawnee County Day where you can get discounts if you go in and purchase items. We have a lot of youth sports kids that go in there with their families and do that. Between the 11 a.m. and 2 p.m., staff will be there taking community input on the renovations at Hillcrest. We'd like to see what everybody would like to see in our community and in our facilities, so have a chance to stop in there and also give some input.
All right. Great.
Thank you.
Carol Marple. I live in southern Shawnee County, and I was asked to be a messenger today. Retirement is wonderful. My time is my own. I was asked to bring some information to the commission about Camp Daisy Hyman. there's been a lot of people working and talking about Camp Daisy. I want to explain my role. I read in the newspaper that Parks and Rec was not interested in acquiring Camp Daisy. I called Joe Ledbetter, who I know was on the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. Joe said, we're having a meeting tomorrow, prepare something and bring it to the advisory board. And I will tell you that I believe that Camp Daisy is probably the best kept secret in Shawnee County. Unless you were a Girl Scout, parent of a Girl Scout, or grandparent of a Girl Scout, you didn't know a lot about it. So I prepared something, took it to the advisory board, and they talked about it. There was discussion, and they decided that there would be a committee to investigate Camp Daisy for Parks and Rec for the advisory board. Terry Roberts and Joe Ledbetter were on the committee. I kind of did a little gopher work for them. They went and toured the camp, asked a lot of questions, made a lot of comments and things like that. They put together the bulk of the report. There's a little bit that I had done originally, and I just ran it off and assembled it and to bring and share with the commissioners. I found the quadrants very interesting that John Knight presented, and I agree. I don't think a person can ever have too much information. I'd just like to end with this comment of the people in rural areas. We'd like to go to parks too. We would like to have reasonable travel distance. We live on the fringes of the county. Our kids, grandkids like to play also. So I hope you give that some consideration, and like I say, I was just the messenger today. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public or department heads to address the commission this morning? Commissioner Archer, do you have anything?
And I usually don't respond to public comments, but for Carol, Carol said that Parks and Rec was not interested in Camp Daisy, and that's not exactly correct. Parks and Rec did extensive analysis on Camp Daisy, and there was just no business case to be made at this point for Shawnee County to take over Camp Daisy. So I just wanted to make sure that that was understood by everyone. That's it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sure. You learn
I
anything?
do not have anything, thank you.
Well, summer is getting close, but that also means that we have storms, and as we had over the last couple of days, please make sure that you have emergency kits prepared, make sure your weather radios are prepared, and make sure that you have a plan in case there is any summer storms that wander your way. And so just please make sure that you are prepared. Our next item.
Item 6, executive session.
There is not a need for an executive session today, so we are adjourned.